Well, I'm home, and this is an intro to a video you're never going to see, which is really weird to say. While I was in Seattle, I was working on putting together my timeline video. Obviously, 36 hours ago was a long time, and a lot has happened, and I've talked with quite a few authorities, um, and a lot of developments have come out, and I will still hold true to the fact that this is our last Lynette Hooker video that we put out. Um, the Coast Guard, obviously, as you know, has new information. Most of that information was what I was going to share in my timeline video. Um, and a lot of it I gave to just Ashley Banfield, or I think some of it Brian Enton, or some news agency. You got to understand, I don't know who these people were 7 weeks ago. I did not know they existed. And the fact that, I'm up till 3 a.m. researching and looking through video footage with Lindsay, who is awesome, and taking phone calls, and my son getting texts like this, which, sorry, I love my son. If you don't find this funny, I can't help it. But my son, people in my lives getting phone calls. The truth is, what I have to say about the media coming up is is still relevant, and I still want to put that information out. I'm just not putting out the timeline. 50% of that is because half the information I've already given out and is out there. The other part is as this moves along and as the Coast Guard picks up steam, I'm not building a timeline that Brian can use as his defense strategy if and when he is arrested. I do want to clear up some confusion on some of my words, because there seems to be a little bit of a misunderstanding. If Brian's guilty, I want that guy in jail 100%. There are only 12 people on this planet who will ever be able to call Brian a murderer, and those are the jury that will convict him. I'm not going to be on that panel. I can't say that yet. Once that jury has made that decision, I can use that term. I'm just not going to beforehand. I respect due process. Do I have opinions? Sure. Do they slip out in an interview? Sure. A lot of people don't understand how these interviews work and how much you're chopped, how much you're edited. I do got to give credit to Brian Enton and Ashley Banfield for not editing, which is why I like to go on their show. But we can sit for 45 minutes with CBS and watch a 10-second clip of the most irrelevant fact be put out. So when I said I don't want to see Brian arrested right away, everyone's focused on that sentence, and I think that soundbite has been clipped and spread around the internet, but without the following sentence, which is because once he's arrested, every news agency is going to be sitting outside the courthouse looking for a soundbite from him, and nobody's going to be in the Bahamas searching. Well, now we've got information that the Coast Guard is going back to the Bahamas and searching. But I don't want it to be mistaken that I'm in some sort of denial or defense mode of Brian. Um, my internal feelings on this matter are pretty much lockstep with everybody else. That's not my. I can't speak to that though. I was not on that dinghy that night. I was not on Soulmate that night. I can only speak to the recording he gave me, piecing that together with all the facts that are coming out, and helping people understand why that doesn't work or why that does work on water. I was the first one digging into Brian's dirty fingernails, only for Darlene to tell me, hey, he had a fungus problem. Like, I'm not going to just throw something out there because I think it. I'm going to research it and then present it. So if that has you thinking that I am somehow in defense of Brian, or I am somehow doing 180s or backflips or something, I can't help you with your gymnastics, bro. But again, this is our last video on Lynette. I'm home. We're back in the beautiful Caribbean. The Coast Guard and the Bahamas are working together to go find Lynette with the best available information that technology can buy. And that's kind of that. The timeline, like I said, that you will hear me reference in this next clip isn't going to be after this next clip. I just want to say, if you followed us for Lynette, this is it. There wasn't that many of you, but if you did, it was a pleasure getting to know you. But we're going back to sailing life and beaches and grocery hauls and, why is this thing on my boat broken? That's our life. Stick around for the journey if you want, but I just wanted to take a second to teach about the media. And on that final thought, I have corrected every news person on the planet this one fact. I am not a lawyer. I went to Seattle School of Law and graduated in January of 2020. Your brain's already ticking on that one, right? Yeah. And then I got diagnosed with cancer. And I said, F it, right? There's COVID. I got cancer. I've had this dream to sail around the world. I popped smoke and moved on to a boat. I do have a law degree. I did go to law school. I am not a lawyer. And there are plenty of times I go into the comment section or I tell reporters I'm not a lawyer. I have a law background. And then all of a sudden it cuts to, Blaine, you're a lawyer. And I guess if you ever want to know who I am, if you ever see my head tilt like this, right before I say something, and then all of a sudden it's just me rambling, there was an edit. So that's that. This is my talk about the media. I think you should be well aware of how the media works and what we've learned in the last 8 weeks. And maybe you're all like, well, duh, bro, we all knew this. I didn't. There's not a single name I've talked to on the news that I knew existed before this article happened. And I don't think I plan on getting to know a lot of them moving ahead. This is not my genre. This is not my bag, baby, as Austin Powers would say. So enjoy my disclaimer about the media and enjoy not seeing the timeline that I'm not just handing out anymore because I don't want somebody to have time to prepare. If he wants a timeline, have him make his own damn timeline. The Coast Guard has it. We talked to them. It's over. So, again, thank you. Here's my little speech about the media. And the next video that will appear on this channel will have something to do with sailing. Y'all have a great day. It's been a pleasure getting to know a lot of you. And have a great day. So yeah, disclaimer. I have no clue what the future holds. So me saying this is the last video on Lynette, that's my desire. Well, if it turns out that they're looking for Lynette and they find an alien spaceship, I'm going to have a comment. So to say that this is my last video is probably the closest thing I've done to a lie in all this process because I don't know. I had no clue what this last 6 weeks would be. I don't have a clue what the next 6 weeks would be. So to clarify, with the exception of, something crazy, which might be every day, I hope this is our last video. Now on to the media. But first, I want to take a few minutes and talk about the media and the interviews we've done and why and what I learned about the dark side to this media apparatus. Please indulge me for a few minutes of a rant and an explanation rolled into one. I'll try and be brief, but I tend to ramble. Fast forward if needed. When we look at the media, we have to look at the entire business product of almost any business, the business cycle. And that's the company, the tool, the product, and the profit circle. In any business, this is the formula the company uses: tools to produce a product for a profit. Easy, simple, and effective. When talking to a news agency, we forgot they are business first. We believe they are altruistic and want truth, justice, and to solve crime. And this may be the hopeful side effect, but the company's job is to make money. I've learned that this circle very well. I have learned that this circle I've learned about this circle very well in the last 7 weeks, and I want to explain who is what in this circle and how we are trying to shift that dynamic. When we first did our interviews, we wanted to get the information we had out to the authorities. We had emailed authorities. We've told this before. We got no response. I found a podcaster on YouTube by searching True Crime Podcaster, and then a name popped up, and then I looked through the bio, found an email, sent them an email, and from that day, Vanessa put out our video, and then our phone started becoming a telethon. I've explained all that before. What I didn't realize is that the news is not interested in my story. They are interested in their narrative. So in the circle that I explained before, you have the company, which is the news agency. And they're using us as the tool to produce a product. And you are the product. Getting your eyes on the screen is the product. And they have formulas and methods that they have used for generations. You know, if it bleeds, it leads. Drama sells. And we've watched this play out. No matter how much we want to focus on facts or we want to focus on our agenda, that hasn't been the case. A classic real-world example of this is my interviews with Nancy Grace the other day. I was first introduced on her show as a boating expert. And that was the first pushback I did. There is 2 minutes that was edited out where I tried to explain to Nancy Grace, I am not a boating expert. Here's a clip from that. And I want you carefully to watch my head movements. And then the transition to what I'm saying. What is cut out from here? What is cut out from here is 2 minutes of me explaining, hey, I'm not a boating expert. I'm a dude who lives on a boat, who happens to know the hookers, who happened to record a video, but in no way do I want to come across as a boating expert. That's insultive to boating experts. That's insultive to me because I don't have those criteria. And it ruins my credibility with people who actually know my personal boating skills. Yes, do we boat? Yes, have we boated for 3 years? Have we sailed the oceans? Yes. Are we experts? Hell no. But that didn't fit their narrative. And so when I, like you, tuned in to watch myself on Nancy Grace and see how it went, there's a chyron down at the bottom that says Blaine Stevenson, boating expert. Would have been just as easy to put down Blaine Stevenson, video recorder, or Blaine Stevenson, snitch, or whatever narrative they wanted to put out. But they absolutely refused my narrative of I'm not a boating expert. So now we are in a position where we have something we want to do as the family. I don't work independently. I don't do interviews just because I want to do interviews. I do interviews in coordination with Lynette, or with Lynette's family, Darlene, Carly, and those involved. When we get a request for an interview, I talk with Darlene, and I'm like, hey, these people want to talk. You want them? And she says, no, can you please do it? Or I would really like for the word to keep going. Could you talk to this person? And that's how it works. The media calls. I call Darlene. Darlene says yes. I look to my wife. My wife says, go ahead and do it. Or she'll do it. And that's been the method. There's no secret methodology out there. So if you're assuming that I'm out there because I like attention, sure, everybody loves attention. I'm not going to deny a certain factor of that. But now we are trying to shift to where our product is you still, and mainly focused on you, the Bahamas Authority, right? And our tool is to use the company to put out our message, to apply pressure to the Bahamas, to get us permission to search with a thorough search team, the Bahamas, for Lynette. And I've seen these comments here, and they're everywhere, and I just want to place this into context. Yes, I can fly to the Bahamas right now. I can take my scuba gear and I can search a decent amount of places. But some of the areas and most of the areas we want to search are land or land adjacent, which means that that's private property. Without Bahamas authorities, all we're doing is going over there and trespassing. Without authority permission, some of the private groups and organizations we would like to go with us can't go. So, in watching how the media has the narrative, they would like to use me as the tool to bring forward. We're trying to roll that back a little bit and use the media as our tool to reach the Bahamas. And the byproduct of that is reaching you. So I wanted to get that out there at the beginning, explain that for the last time. I am getting on a plane here in a few hours. I am flying home. I am hoping that when this video gets released, we are done with putting out videos on Lynette and Brian Hooker. Are we still putting out videos? Of course, we were beforehand. But we're going back to our boating life. Are we still going to be involved? As much as Darlene and Carly ask us to be. I'm not letting them down. I am not going to step away just because there's a few angry comments or because I have a few people in my life that are just like, hey, stay out of it. That's not who I am. That's not who I'm going to be. And if you don't like it, fast forward to the end and click the down like button. Don't really care. So now we're going to transition into my timeline that I have built over the last 7 weeks and why I think, for the most part, the details of this story are over. We have 2 things left to do. Find Lynette and let the Coast Guard do their job. So now we're going to transition into my timeline and me learning graphics and me learning to just give facts without giving opinions. But I think I found some things in building this timeline that are important for people who are following this case to know, and why I feel like all the pertinent information has already been gotten and given to the right authorities. Thank you.